Good morning in Spain, late afternoon in Korea. I would like to give you a warm welcome to this webinar. The title of this webinar is Accelerating the Impact of Innovation, Spain and Korean Artificial Intelligence. This event is organized by the Center of the Development of Industrial Technology, short for CDTI, and the Embassy of Spain. We count with the support of the Korean Institute of Information and Communications Technology Planning and Evaluation, IITP, and from Korea. My name is Jordi Spluga, and I'm the representative of CDTI to South Korea, and I'll be the moderator for this event. The objective of this event, as the title suggests, is to approach the Spanish and Korean research communities in the field of information and communication technologies, with the emphasis on artificial intelligence, which is a key enabling technology with applications to multiple industrial and societal areas. The artificial intelligence technology is a pillar element on the science and technology roadmaps of the two countries under the so-called digital agenda. Pretty sure you heard of frequently, encompassing some other technologies also fundamental to make possible the target set in our economies in terms of digitalization goals. The program for today begins with a welcome remarks by the Ambassador of Spain to South Korea, followed by an introductory remarks by CTI from Spain and ITP from Korea, with a mention to the joint call Korean-Spain Innovating Program, or short for KRESIP, targeting the technologies of artificial intelligence. The program continues with an introduction of the status in Spain in these technologies, followed by a replica on the Korean side. In the second part, we will be hearing from top-notch Spanish entities, beginning with a technology platform, a research institute, and 3 companies. Before we continue, let me invite you to post questions on the Q&A section. Don't use the chat, the Q&A section. And those questions will be answered at the end of the session. Without any further ado, it's my honor to introduce the Ambassador of Spain, Mr. Ignacio Moro. The floor is yours, Ambassador.
Good morning. On behalf of my government, I'm very pleased to take part in this event organized by the Spanish CDTI with the support of the Korean agency IITP on the bilateral cooperation between the Republic of Korea and Spain on artificial intelligence. I do so through this recorded message, as on 18th of June, I should be in Madrid after the state visit by President Moon Jae-in to Spain the previous days. This follows the visit paid by Their Majesties the King and Queen of Spain to Korea in October 2019, which gave a boost to our bilateral relations and exchanges in many fields. As many others, my country is still suffering from the pandemic. While fighting to overcome this tragedy, we all have learned that cooperation is key to tackle global challenges, and undoubtedly, science plays a crucial role when providing information and solutions for the benefit of the people. This is what artificial intelligence is about. Spain is very committed to supporting international research and enhancing further cooperation with Korea in the fields of science and technology, and more specifically on technologies related to information systems and communications. Spain is investing in the digitalization process under the so-called España-Digital 2025 agenda, which seeks to give our industry access to the forefront on the information and communication technologies, such as artificial intelligence, 5G, big data, or the Internet of Things, among others. The information and communications industry produces in Spain around 115 billion euros annually, employing over 500,000 people, with Spanish companies holding leading positions in both Europe and Latin America, in line with the European digital agenda. The ministries in charge of science and technology policies of Korea and Spain have signed agreements covering a broad number of programs. Around 40% of the research projects carried out by Korean and Spanish entities in this field are related to information and communication technologies, including one recently signed by the CDTI and IITP, which launched the first joint call for proposals on artificial intelligence. Be sure that the Spanish government will do its best to provide political support and resources to facilitate these undertakings and try to find solutions to the global challenges of today. I have no doubt, once this pandemic is over, we'll see more Spanish scientists participating in events organized in Korea and will be fully engaged in meaningful discussions with our Korean peer scientists. Let me finish by extending one more time my gratitude to our Korean partners and to all the speakers for your knowledge, experience, and your efforts to add value to this event. I wish all researchers and guests a successful conference. Congratulations, and I thank you. Good morning.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. It's been very inspiring, your talks. Next speaker is the director of CDTI, the funding agency in Spain, Mr. Javier Ponce. Javier has a long trajectory in CDTI as a delegate to the European Union for research and development programs, head of office during the Spanish chairmanship, the RIC initiative, along with several positions at the CDTI. He holds a degree in industrial engineering and an MBA, master degree in business administration, and a degree in European communities. Mr. Javier Ponce, please, the floor is yours. Mr. Javier, are you there? It seems that we don't have an answer here. I'm wondering. Okay, let's move on to the next speaker, and we'll try to reconnect back later on with the Director General of CDTI. The next speaker is Mr. Johnson Bae, the president of the Korea funding agency IITP, the partner of CDTI, and for some calls in information and communications technologies particularly. And he will give us some welcome remarks and a short introduction to IITP as the main Korean agency for the technology, information, communications technology support in Korea, including those in artificial intelligence. Please, Mr. Johnson Bae, the floor is yours.
안녕하십니까. 정보통신 기획평가원장 전성배입니다. 먼저 코로나19 등 세계적으로 어려운 상황임에도 온라인으로 오늘 행사에 참석하신 한국, 스페인 양국 연구자 및 스페인 관계자분들께 감사드립니다. 특히 바쁘신 와중에도 영상으로 이번 자리를 빛내주신 주한 스페인 대사관, 후안 이그나시오 모로 대사님께도 감사드립니다. 행사를 추진해 주신 스페인 산업기술개발원 하비에르 폰세 원장님과 이번 강연을 준비해 주신 모든 분들께 감사의 말씀을 드립니다. 내규빈 여러분, 한국과 스페인 양국 관계는 1950년 수교 이래 긴밀한 협력과 교류의 시간들을 거쳐 이제 성숙의 단계에 이르렀습니다. 아시아와 유럽의 끝에 위치한 양국은 우호 협력 관계를 발전시켜 오는 가운데 교역은 지속적으로 증가해 오고 있습니다. 19년 펠리페 6세 국왕의 국빈 방문으로 양국 간 우호 관계가 더욱 심화되고 미래 양국 관계의 발전을 위한 토대를 공고히 하고 있습니다. 한국과 스페인은 정치, 경제, 문화뿐만 아니라 과학기술, 에너지, 건설 등 양국이 강점을 가진 분야를 중심으로 실질적으로 협력을 확대해 나가고 있습니다. 한국의 경우 코로나19로 인해 최악의 경제 침체와 일자리 충격 등에 직면한 상황에서 위기 극복 및 코로나19 이후 글로벌 선도를 위한 디지털 뉴딜과 그린 뉴딜을 두 축으로 한국판 뉴딜을 추진 중입니다. 온라인 소비, 원격 근무 등 비대면화가 확산되고 디지털 전환이 가속화되는 등 경제사회 구조의 전환으로 디지털 역량의 중요성이 높아지고 있습니다. IITP는 세계 최고 수준의 전자정부, 인프라, 서비스 등 강점인 정보통신 기술을 기반으로 경제 전반의 혁신과 역동성을 확산하기 위한 디지털 뉴딜을 지원하고 있습니다. 전 산업의 디지털 혁신을 위해 DNA, 데이터, 네트워크, AI 생태계를 강화하고 비대면 산업 육성 등을 위해 IITP는 ICT R&D 전문기관으로 ICT R&D 기획, 평가, 관리의 전문화와 혁신을 지속하고 있습니다. 특히 작년 10월 스페인 산업기술개발원과 정보통신기획평가원은 ICT 분야 공동연구 협력 양해각서를 체결하여 새로운 협력관계를 구축하였습니다. 이에 기반하여 연구환경 개방성을 강화하여 기술 경쟁력을 제고하고 양국 인력 기술 교류를 통한 R&D 효율성을 높일 수 있는 한 스페인 공동연구 프로젝트를 올해부터 새롭게 추진하게 되었습니다. 양국은 21년 중점 분야로 인공지능 융합 활용 기술 개발 과제를 선정하여 인공지능이 헬스케어, 스마트팜, 실감 솔루션 등 다양한 융합 산업에 접목되어 혁신적인 성과가 창출되기를 기대하고 있습니다. 오늘 한 스페인 인공지능 워크숍을 통해 양국 간 국제협력 R&D 주요 이슈를 발굴하고 특히 스페인의 인공지능 기술 및 산업 현황을 양국이 공유하는 등 좋은 기회가 되기를 바랍니다. 앞으로도 정보통신기획평가원은 세계 최고의 ICT 경쟁력 확보 및 선도를 위해 ICT 국제 공동연구 지원에 최선을 다할 것을 약속드립니다. 다시 한번 오늘 행사를 위해 준비해 주신 관계자 및 참석하신 모든 분들의 건승과 건강을 기원합니다. 감사합니다. 그라시아스.
Thank you, Mr. John. It's been very encouraging, your words, and I couldn't help noticing how many times the words digital agenda and new green deal were said. So, and the relevance of artificial intelligence put there. Also, the KRESIP program as a catalyzer for joint research cooperation between our two countries. Excellent. Now I'm pleased to introduce another speaker, Dr. Lee Hyung-kyu. He is the Artificial Intelligence and Data Program Manager at IITP, who will further elaborate on President's comments, as well as provide some valuable insights to the Korean status and trends on artificial intelligence. Dr. Lee, please, the floor is yours.
안녕하십니까. 과학기술정보통신부 인공지능 데이터 PM 겸 인공지능 사업단장인 이현규입니다. 지금부터 한국의 인공지능 국가 전략에 대해 말씀드리도록 하겠습니다. 말씀드릴 순서는 다음과 같습니다. 먼저 국가별 인공지능 전략에 대해 설명드리도록 하겠습니다. 그림은 전 세계 국가별로 인공지능 정책을 발표한 시기를 표시하고 있습니다. 한국은 2018년 인공지능 R&D 전략을 발표하였고 2019년 인공지능 국가 전략을 발표한 바 있습니다. 국가별 인공지능 전략이 어떤 형태인지를 비교하고 있는 표입니다. 미국의 경우 연방정부는 자동화 소프트웨어의 사용에 집중을 하였고 국방에서의 자율 시스템, AI의 군사적 응용에 대한 투자에 집중을 하였습니다. EU는 인간 중심의 AI 구축을 위해 기술의 견고성, 안전성, 투명성, 다양성, 차별금지, 공정성 추구 등에 집중을 하였습니다. 영국은 예방의학을 위한 AI에 집중을 하면서 윤리적 AI의 리더를 추구하고 있습니다. 한국은 차세대 AI 기술 개발을 통해서 글로벌 AI R&D 투자를 주도하며 인공지능을 가장 잘 활용하는 나라를 지향하고 인간 중심의 지능정보 사회 구축에 집중을 하고 있습니다. 중국은 2030년까지 글로벌 AI 리더가 되는 것을 목표로 하고 있으며 AI를 활용한 지능적 모니터링과 조기 경보체계 구축에 노력을 기울이고 있습니다. 일본은 AI와 로봇의 융합 연구를 하며 로봇의 자율적 학습, 환경 적응, 지능 성장, 인간과 협업 등에 대해 집중하고 있습니다. 미국의 인공지능 국가전략입니다. 전략 1과 2는 연구개발에 관한 전략이고 전략 3에서부터 8까지는 연구개발 기반 조성에 관한 전략입니다. 전략 1은 AI 원천 기술 연구에 대한 장기적인 투자에 관한 것이고 전략 2는 인간 AI 협업을 위한 효과적인 방법 개발을 위한 것입니다. 그리고 마지막에 있는 전략 8은 민간과 공공의 파트너십에 대한 전략을 다룸으로써 상용에 대한 의지도 표시하고 있습니다. 한국의 경우 2017년부터 수차례에 걸쳐서 인공지능 기술 개발과 활용에 관한 정책을 발표하였으며 2019년 12월 인공지능 국가전략이 발표되었습니다. 이후 2020년 국가전략 실현을 위해서 지능정보화 기본법이 제정되었고 구체적인 실행 방안 중의 하나로 한국판 뉴딜 종합계획이 발표되었습니다. 한국의 인공지능 국가전략입니다. 인공지능 국가전략의 핵심 내용은 IT 강국을 넘어 AI 강국으로라는 캐치프레이즈를 가지고 AI의 경쟁력을 혁신화해서 세계를 선도하는 인공지능 생태계를 구축하고 AI 활용 전면화를 통해서 인공지능을 가장 잘 활용하는 나라를 만들며 AI와 조화 공조를 통해서 사람 중심의 인공지능을 구현하고자 하는 것입니다. 국가전략 실행 방안인 한국판 뉴딜 종합계획은 인공지능 학습용 데이터, 인적 역량 강화, 기본 법제 정비 등을 포함하는 연구개발 인프라를 제공하고 차세대 AI R&D나 차세대 지능형 반도체와 같은 핵심 원천 기술을 개발하며 AI 플러스 X, AI 바우처, 데이터댐, 지능형 정부, 물류기술 개발, AI 보안기술 개발 등 응용기술 개발과 성과 확산을 위한 다양한 사업을 수행함으로써 코로나 등으로 인해 위축된 국내 경기를 부양하고 글로벌 경제 위기를 극복하고자 하는 계획입니다. 글로벌 인공지능 국가 전략을 살펴보면 다음과 같은 시사점을 얻을 수 있습니다. 각 국가에서는 자신들이 경쟁력이 있는 분야에 집중적으로 투자하려고 하고 있습니다. 미국이나 중국은 국방, 독일은 스마트 팩토리, 일본은 로봇, 영국은 헬스케어 등이 그 예입니다. 또한 민간과 공공의 데이터 공유를 통한 협력을 강화하고 AI 생애 전 주기에 대해서 신뢰성 있는 기술을 강화하고자 합니다. 그리고 생태계를 위한 환경 구축도 포함하고 있습니다. 다음은 한국의 인공지능 R&D 방향에 대해서 말씀드리도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 추진 배경입니다. 글로벌 인공지능 기술의 개발 동향은 다음과 같습니다. 데이터 축적과 컴퓨팅 파워의 발전, 딥러닝의 진화에 따라서 AI 부흥기에 진입했다는 것이 현실입니다. 이에 따라 데이터에 대한 관심이 수량에서 품질로 옮겨가고 엣지 컴퓨팅이 강화되고 있으며 인간과 유사한 수준의 지능을 가진 인공지능 개발에 돌입하고 있습니다. 기술적으로는 물리적 실험, 신약 개발 등 장기 연구가 필요한 분야에 AI를 활용하여 시간과 비용을 획기적으로 단축하고 신제품 또는 서비스의 연구개발 촉매제 역할로 인공지능 기술의 융합이 이루어지고 있습니다. 또한 산업적으로는 글로벌 ICT 기업들이 AI 플랫폼을 기반으로 타 산업과의 협력을 통해 개방형 생태계 구축에 주력함으로써 핵심 시장에 대한 선점을 가속하고 있고 타 산업과의 지능적 융합으로 차별적 부가가치 창출은 물론 기존 산업 분야의 획기적 변화를 촉발시키고 있습니다. 글로벌 시장 관점에서는 AI 기술의 지배력 강화와 승자 독식에 따른 양극화가 심화되어 AI의 핵심 기술은 인재와 데이터의 양적, 질적 차이가 시간에 따라 가속화되어 후발주자의 추격이 불가능한 상황에 이르게 될 것입니다. 응용산업에서도 기술 선도국에서는 분야별 데이터와 용도별 AI 기술을 이용하여 특화된 AI 서비스를 개발하고 신시장 창출을 본격화하고 있습니다. 아마존, 구글, 애플과 같은 글로벌 기술 기업들은 AI 기술을 기반으로 전 산업 분야에 대한 지배력 강화를 시도하고 있습니다. 각 국가별 전략 측면에서는 신뢰성 있는 AI 기술 개발과 국가별 특성을 고려한 기술 혁신 역량을 확보하기 위한 노력을 하고 있습니다. 예를 들어 미국은 차세대 AI에 대한 정부의 장기 선제적 투자를 통해서 민간의 경쟁력 제고를 유도하고 있고 중국은 국가의 대규모 선행 투자를 통해서 AI 핵심 기술 확보와 시장 확대를 도모하고 있으며 일본은 차세대 AI 및 로봇에 대한 융합 고도화 연구를 추진 중에 있습니다. 또한 EU는 인간 중심의 신뢰성 있는 AI 연구를 위한 윤리 가이드라인을 제시하고 생태계 조성에 노력을 기울이고 있습니다. 한국의 인공지능 관련 동향은 다음과 같습니다. 정책적 측면에서는 인공지능 국가전략과 한국형 뉴딜 종합계획을 통하여 차세대 AI 기술 선정과 혁신성장 확산 및 가속화에 중점적으로 투자하는 결정을 하였습니다. 민간기업 측면에서 보면 한국 기업의 인공지능 도입 비율은 0.6%에 불과하고 향후 이용 의향도를 봐도 2.6%에 불과한 실정입니다. 따라서 이를 고도화시키기 위한 노력이 절실히 필요한 상황입니다. 이에 반해 대기업은 기술 및 인재 확보를 위해 해외 연구 교점을 마련하고 확대하고 있습니다. 한국은 엑소브레인, 딥뷰와 같이 인공지능 원천 기술에 대한 정부의 대대적인 투자를 통해 성공한 사례를 보유하고 있으며 핵심 역량을 집중하여 글로벌 시장에 진출한 사례도 보유하고 있습니다. 그림은 인공지능의 발전 방향을 보여주고 있습니다. 세로축은 인공지능의 성능의 발전을 표시하고 있으며 가로축은 인공지능의 의식 능력, 즉 자율성의 발전을 표시하고 있습니다. 중간에 빨간색 글씨로 표현하는 한 부분이 바로 차세대 AI 기술이 지향하는 영역입니다. 즉 현재의 인공지능 기술에서 성능 면에서의 향상과 자율성 등 활용성 면에서의 향상을 동시에 추진하는 것이 차세대 AI 방향이라고 볼 수 있습니다. 또한 AI 생애 전주기에 걸친 신뢰성 있는 기술의 추구도 반드시 포함되어야 될 기술 방향입니다. 이를 통해서 인간 가치와 공정성을 통해 법률, 인권, 민주적 가치와 다양성을 존중하고 공정하고 올바른 사회를 보장하는 안전보호 기능을 포함시키고 투명성과 설명 가능성을 통해 인간이 이해할 수 있도록 투명성과 책임 있는 공개를 원칙화하며 경고성과 안전성을 통해 강인하고 보완적이며 안전한 작동을 보장하고 잠재적 위험에 대한 지속적인 평가와 관리를 수행하고 포용성과 지속 가능성을 통해 포용적 성장 및 지속 가능한 개발을 진행하고 웰빙을 추구하여 인류와 지구에 유익해야 하고 책임성을 통해 개발, 채택, 운영하는 조직과 개인 모두 상위 원칙에 맞게 기능하도록 구현해야 될 책임을 공식화하려 합니다. 차세대 AI 기술은 크게 현재의 딥러닝 기술을 고도화하는 방향과 딥러닝 기술 자체의 한계를 극복하기 위한 방향으로 진행이 될 것으로 예측합니다. 현재의 인공지능 기술이 가진 한계는 표와 같습니다. 학습 데이터량에 대한 의존성이나 실세계 변화에 적응하는 능력의 부족과 같은 학습 능력에서의 한계, 인간이 믿고 써도 된다는 확신을 주지 못하는 신뢰성에서의 한계, 인간과 비슷한 수준으로 소통이나 공감을 주지 못하는 활용적인 측면에서의 한계가 그것입니다. 그래서 우리가 추진하고자 하는 차세대 AI R&D는 현재 인공지능의 한계를 극복하기 위한 인공지능 원천 기술 개발을 목표로 하고 다음과 같은 세 가지 분야의 원천 기술을 개발할 예정입니다. 첫 번째는 학습 데이터의 양에 대한 의존도를 낮출 수 있는 AI의 학습 능력을 개선하기 위한 기술입니다. 이 안에는 효율적인 학습을 통해 학습의 수준을 높이는 기술, 변화에 적응하고 지식을 확장하는 기술, 스스로 지속적으로 학습할 수 있는 기술이 포함되고 있습니다. 두 번째는 인간이 AI를 믿고 사용할 수 있도록 AI의 신뢰성을 확보하기 위한 기술입니다. 이 안에는 인공지능 활용에 따른 결과를 투명하게 설명 가능하게 하는 기술입니다. 또 하나는 인간에게 공정하고 호의적인 결과를 창출하기 위한 기술입니다. 마지막으로 인간이 AI를 효과적으로 활용할 수 있도록 인간과 원활하게 소통, 공감할 수 있도록 하기 위한 AI 기술입니다. 여기에는 인공지능이 인간과 쉽고 편하게 상호작용하기 위한 기술과 인간처럼 다양한 감각을 활용하여 상황 정서를 이해, 판단, 표현하는 기술이 포함되어 있습니다. 이상으로 한국의 인공지능 국가 전략에 대해서 설명드렸습니다. 감사합니다.
Excellent presentation, Dr. Lee. To me, I would like to remark one quotation from OECD I saw in one of the slides. AI must pursue inclusive growth, sustainable development, and well-being. To me, that means basically everyone should be part of the process to sustain development, right? Which is why we are addressing this seminar. Answering to Dr. Lee's, we will hear now from Planetic. Planetic is the Spanish technology platform on artificial intelligence. Through Mr. Daniel Saez. He's a telecommunications engineer with a postgrad in business administration with an extensive professional experience in the information and telecommunication technologies. Mr. Saez currently is the technology transfer director and strategic and competitive intelligence director, and today he will address the session as artificial intelligence interplatform group coordinator. Go ahead, Mr. Saez, please.
Okay, thank you, Jordi. I will explain what is the vision of AI in Spain. I'm here representing Planetic, as Jordi has said. I work for ITI, which is a research center in Spain, very focused on big data and artificial intelligence technologies. I'm also a member of the board of directors of BDBA and Gaia-X, which are European initiatives and associations for these kind of things related to big data and artificial intelligence. So I will go ahead with this global vision of AI in Spain. First of all, a few words about Planetic. Is the Spanish platform for the adoption and dissemination of information and communication technologies in Spain. we develop a research and development and innovation agenda for Spain, promoting the use of digital technologies in vertical sectors, and also giving visibility to the digital sector in Europe and in the world. And this is an overview about the management board of Planetic. Maybe you know some of the companies here, and some of the research centers that we are, and universities as well, that we are managing the Planetic activities. One of these activities within Planetic that Planetic is leading, in fact, is the Spanish group in Big Data and Artificial Intelligence, which is composed by different vertical sectors at the Spanish level: tourism, agriculture, logistics, industry, health, water, and so on. And with the support and collaboration of networks of supercomputing and also big data networks, and supported by the ministry, the CDTI, and also the standardization body. It is led by Planetic, as I said before, as an horizontal technologies body, and it's giving answers to the demands and expectation of the Spanish companies in data and artificial intelligence, addressing the major technological, legal, and ethical challenges of these technologies, and also making the connection with the European bodies working in these issues as well. And at European level, once I have positioned why I'm here presenting this global strategy, the European framework, or Spain is part of Europe, as you know, of course, and Europe in 2018 defined a coordinated plan on AI, which all the member states committed with this coordinated plan and adopted in the following years. Some countries before, some countries now are defining the strategy on artificial intelligence in its country. This coordinated plan wants to ensure that the Europe's competitiveness in the research and deployment of artificial intelligence, and also deal with social, economic, ethical, and legal questions, which are very important for Europe, especially the ethical and legal questions related to artificial intelligence. These are the basis of the EU strategy on artificial intelligence. As I said before, the legal and ethical issues are very well addressed by this strategy, because AI systems in Europe need to be safe and also respect the existing law, ensure legal certainty, to facilitate investments and innovation in artificial intelligence. It can be governed and also reinforce the law on fundamental rights and safety. And they need to develop a single market, or they need to contribute to the development of a single market for lawful, safe, and trustworthy AI applications. In Europe, we have defined, or we have create a classification of AI applications depending on the risk of the sector we are applying this application, or the risk of the application itself. For example, we have defined an acceptable risk when we are addressing, or we can create a threat to people's safety, livelihoods, and rights. High risk for critical infrastructures, educational training, employment. Limited risk applications where we are talking about chatbots, interactions with machines, and minimal risk, for example, for AI-enabled video games or spam filters. Spain is within Europe and within this framework of AI policies that are defined at European level. And in Spain, we have make our work and we have defined the Spanish strategy on research, development, and innovation for 2 years ago. Last year, in 2020, we launched the agenda for Spain Digital 2025, which is a very ambitious program for digital technologies in Spain. Within this agenda is the Spanish strategy for artificial intelligence, which was launched also last year in 2020 in November. And this year we launched the Recovery and Resilient Plan, which is unfortunately related to the pandemic of COVID, but which is an opportunity for all these digital technologies. All together, jointly public and private investments, we expect around 70 billion euros investment in digital technologies and artificial intelligence in the following years. So it is a very, very favorable framework, policy and economic framework for artificial intelligence in Spain. We also did 2 years ago a registry of capacities in artificial intelligence in Spain. It's in Spanish, sorry for that, but you can see in the map where the main poles of AI development and technology are located in Spain, and you can go through all of the actors in this map and see what are they doing, and also which facilities, which demonstrators, which people they have, and you can look for synergies and for collaboration with them. And the strategy in Spain is focused on the main sectors where Spain has high potential and also experience, like for example, transport and industry, agriculture, health, tourism, and retail. These are 5 main sectors for Spain where we have a very good critical mass and economic mass. And I will explain and give some ideas in these sectors later on. Also, within the strategy are very present the links with Europe. In Spain, we have organizations, companies, and research centers and universities that are very present in the main AI organizations in Europe, which are more related to the industry or more related to the academy. And this is an important thing in order to translate all the European policies to Spain, and also to take a relevant role in the development of these technologies. And following with some more key figures in Spain, we can say that Spain is the 4th country in Europe investing in artificial intelligence, with 235 organizations developing AI technologies and services. 46 of them are powerful universities, which are working intensively on artificial intelligence. We also have in Europe the concept of digital innovation hubs, which are dealing with digital technologies to help companies to increase the level of digitalization. And 17 of these DIHs are focused on artificial intelligence. And finally, we also have in Spain a very rich ecosystem of incubators of startups in artificial intelligence, with very rich locations, for example, in Barcelona, Catalonia, Madrid, or Valencia. Going more in depth, in detail on the sectors, on the main sectors where Spain is putting or focusing the strategy for artificial intelligence. On healthcare, Spain has is lucky to have the highest life expectation in the world, and the health system has impacted in this fact. In fact, So we are in Spain working very hard in predictive, personalized, preventive, and participatory medicine, covering the whole life cycle of the patient, from the prevention, diagnosis, attention, treatment, rehabilitation, applying artificial intelligence technologies to these phases of the cycle of a patient. For example, selecting the most viable therapeutic targets, or also making comparative analysis of treatments in order to increase the effectiveness of the treatments in the patients and enlarge the life expectation. Going to agriculture, Spain is the largest producer of fruits and vegetables in Europe, and then we need to work very hard in being very efficient in the production process. So we are working on precision agriculture for irrigation, phytosanitary treatments, harvesting, and also sustainable agriculture, reducing the water consumption, the plant protectors, and all these using artificial intelligence that can predict weather conditions, or that can predict the evolution of plants in the cycle of their life. In transport, Spain has also a strong powerful in maritime transport. As you in Korea, we are surrounded by water, by the sea, and we have very strategic seaports in Spain. Also, we have a very rich high-speed railway networks, and the road transport is very important as well for us, with high capacity roads which are supporting the transport by lorry in most of the cases. And then we are working on, or the strategy is working on projects related to safety, autonomy, route optimization, demand forecasting for the transport in all these means of transport. Tourism is other important sector for Spain. Spain, in fact, is the second country in the world most visited by tourists. And then we are working on artificial intelligence initiatives for tourism, also creating a data space for tourism, which is collecting or putting together all the stakeholders around tourism in Spain, in order to make the tourism experience more agile, more efficient, and also optimize the processes for tourist operators and so on. And we are applying all the technologies, all the artificial intelligence technologies that you can imagine for predictive models, graph analytics, and other things. And also an important point here is that we are defining the intelligent tourist destinations, which are very important places where intelligent technologies or digital technologies are put in place, and then we can make this experience more interesting for the tourists. And finally, retail, which is the last important sector for Spain, where we have some important retailers, and maybe you know them: Inditex, Zara, Mango, Mercadona, which is more Spanish located, or El Corte Inglés. And we are working in this sector in projects related to demand forecasting, customer experience, automated inventory management, dynamic prices, operational optimization, and other things related to artificial intelligence in order to make the process more efficient. So in conclusion, we can say that Spain has a rich ecosystem of knowledge generators. We have research centers, we have universities, we have companies that are very well prepared for creating artificial intelligence applications and also research on artificial intelligence. We are very well positioned in Europe, working on the main institutions and also in the governance bodies of these institutions. We have very powerful sectors where artificial intelligence is being developed and applied and deployed. We have also a good policy and also investment framework for the development of artificial intelligence technologies. We have some years ahead that will be very challenging for us, but also very interesting for us in order to develop and deploy artificial intelligence and digital technologies in general in Spain. And also we are prepared for the international cooperation. So I think Spain is prepared for good and fruitful collaborations with Korea. And I hope we can make this a reality in the following months. Thank you very much. I will be pleased to answer some questions if they are. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Daniel Saez. It's nice to see how artificial intelligence is playing a key role in so many strategic sectors in Spain. Now, before proceeding, I've been informed that Mr. Javier Ponce, the General Director of CDTI, cannot connect due to technical problems. He's excusing on that, and he asked me if I could send his remarks on his behalf. I'll try to do my best on that. Javier Ponce, first of all, appreciates the support of the Spanish Embassy, so it's participation of the very same ambassador, Ignacio Morro, to the event. Also, is very grateful to the participation of IITP directly from the president, and then the experts talk on Dr. Lee on the situation, the status of Korea on the artificial intelligence. A brief introduction of CDTI. CDTI is answers to the Ministry of Science and Innovation. Is the main funding agency to support research and development projects carried out by companies together with sometimes in consortia with different stakeholders like research centers and universities, and fosters the participation of Spanish entities to international research and development programs, and one of them is with Korea. CDTI has several representative offices overseas in Asia, in particular, to the Republic of Korea, Japan, China, and India. The CDTI in Korea has had it has a long history here. It was established in 1997 when the first representative office came and established in Korea. Recently has been redefined as a Spanish Office for Science and Technology of Spain. So CDTI in South Korea is the logo that you will see from now on, and it works with several memorandum of understandings at different levels. One of them is at ministerial level with Ministry of Science and ICT, which covers the collaboration with IITP. And the second one is together with the Ministry of MOTIE for more industrial approach issues and in a horizontal way. So out of these ministerial agreements, there are the funding through which facilitate all the launching of bilateral programs, like the bilateral program KRESIP, which was launched between CDTI and ITP not so long ago, and now it's all the projects are under evaluation. This KRESIP, for your information, it's a bilateral program between Spain and Korea, managed by CDTI and IITP in Korea, and it's only targeting the technologies of information and communications. The first call was in artificial intelligence only, so next in future years, we'll see how that develops and which technologies we are going to target. Other calls for proposals are like Eureka, which is more horizontal, covering all types of technologies, and some others which are more thematic, like Korea, Spain, energy innovating, and that one is in energy only. As a result of those calls being programmed on a regular basis, we are proud to say that we have more than 100 approved projects as of today. And to give you an understanding on how important information and communications technologies is, 42 of these projects are in this field. So it's not 50%, but close to 50% of all the projects submitted to all different calls for proposals between Spain and Korea are in the field of ICT, information and communications technologies. To mention a few visits or landmark visits that we had in 2019, the King of Spain visit Korea, and we organized back then. We organized within a bilateral summit, economic summit. We organized a summit in our case in Industry 4.0. And Industry 4.0, one of the main pillars is artificial intelligence. Back then, we brought Hyundai Motor together with IDIADA. IDIADA is a Spanish, and we talk about mobility and artificial intelligence. So we put a lot of emphasis on how artificial intelligence helps with mobility, and it's one of today's topics as well. We also brought the cluster Smart. It's one of the clusters that we created in the northern part of Spain to address smart industry issues. Again, artificial intelligence was one of the key players there. And we brought one company, Indra, which is in communications. So communications and 5G, 6G now coming, and artificial intelligence, but again, addressed there in those topics. Currently this week, as you probably saw in the news, President Moon Jae-in is in Madrid, and that will hopefully, not hopefully, because some MOUs, some new push and a lot of meetings had taken place in Madrid, that will give an additional push to all of the bilateral relations between Spain and Korea. I'm pretty sure that artificial intelligence will be on the table again. So breaking down the programs and technologies, Eureka is, as I said before, it's more horizontal, and the technology there is welcome. That's managed with the Ministry of Industry, the Korean Ministry of Industry. There is another one on energy, and then there is the new one, the KRESIP, which was launched for first time this year, and it's only in exclusivity on information and communications technology. So it's a thematic call, and that one has been only on artificial intelligence. We expect to continue launching calls under the KRESIP in the coming years, and of course we expect that all the researchers identify at each other's country partners to bring consortium and submit strong proposals to those bilateral calls. In terms of what artificial intelligence means to Spain, the Director General wants to talk about basically what he's seeing in CDTI when it comes to projects supported by CDTI in artificial intelligence. He's proud to say that over the last 3 years, nearly 500 projects in the technologies of artificial intelligence has been approved. That means a budget of over 250 million with a commitment from CDTI of around 200 million euros. And think about that, only dedicated to financing, research and development activities in that particular field, carried out by companies, research institutes, and universities in consortium. As already was said before by Planetic, everything, the strategy in AI is trapped within the España Digital 2025, which is the master plan that defines, sets the roadmap in these technologies, specifically under the pillar 9. I quote, capacity building on the technologies of artificial intelligence and big data. That's the pillar that supports all the digitalization process of both industry and society. And needless to say that, of course, that plan is aligned with the European agenda published by the European Commission. The level play in Europe. There's been one recently published a new list of harmonized legislation based on the framework comprise, which includes up to 19 new directives and regulations on artificial intelligence, including what the Commission calls high-risk artificial intelligence systems, which is trying to hedge the damage caused by what artificial intelligence is not intended for, right? Among those risks, it refers to like biometric identification, management of critical infrastructures to avoid potential disasters, educational and vocational training. So I guess there will have to be a migration of skills into more AI employment and workers management services, both public and private, enforcement of law, migration issues, and administration of justice. So it's very comprehensive, and well, I would like to see how it rolls out. As a closing remarks, my CDTI's Director General is saying that well, today's event will provide a general overview of the status quo in Spain. So we're showing our capabilities on artificial intelligence, especially to Korea, to call your attention that we are also good in that in Spain. We have relevant researchers, we have some knowledge, and could be very supportive for Korean researchers if they go ahead with a joint collaboration activities or looking to Spain for your expansion into Europe. Also encourage the Korean audience, as I said, to consider Spain as a potential source of knowledge for collaboration. And finally, he closes with wishing us a fruitful seminar. So that's basically with the remarks from CDTI. And now let's move on to the second part. Let's move on to the second part, which will showcase now. The first part was more institutional. The second part is more practical, more hands-on on cases, on what the researchers are currently doing. So we will start with a presentation from EURECAT. EURECAT is a research institute with a long trajectory in the topics of today on artificial intelligence, very active actually. Mr. Joan Lluís Mas has served for 10 years at the European Space Agency Research Center. Later, he continued in his career in the development of equipment and at the International Space Station. And since he joined EURECAT, his research topic moved to data analytics and big data, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. Mr. Mas, please go on with your presentation.
Thank you very much. And thank you also for inviting EURECAT to participate in this event. I will share my screen, hope that you can see it. And in the next 10 minutes, I will try to explain very quickly, but also very clearly, what EURECAT is, why artificial intelligence is a strategic for EURECAT, and I will show some examples that really match very well with the topics that either you, Jordi, and Danny Saez explained in the presentations before. So very quickly, let me see. Okay, so EURECAT is a research and technology organization. We are based in Catalonia, in the northeast of Spain. We are.
Sorry, Joan. Would you mind share your slides, please?
You don't see my slides?
No.
Oh.
Try again.
Oh yes, share. Yes. Now you see.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you for the warning. I was saying that EURECAT is a research and technology organization. We are based in Catalonia, in the northeast of Spain, and we have 11 operational sites scattered around the region. But indeed, we have quite a lot of strong relationship and partnerships with other Spanish research and technology organizations. And recently also we have opened operations in South America, in Chile, that we call EURECAT Latin American. Some facts and figures about EURECAT. So, well, turnover in 2020 was around 50 million. We have more than 1,600 customers. Our staff is composed of more than 650 professionals, with 22% of them holding a PhD grade. And also we are working as a mission as a research and technology organization. We are working with companies. 50% of EURECAT activities is dealt with small and medium enterprises. And indeed, we are very active with the European projects. Is one of the pillars of activities that we have as a research and technology organization. So from a more technological point of view, EURECAT is a multi-technological, multi-sector organization, research organization, and we have four main pillars, four main technology, let's call it divisions. The first one is industrial. In this division, mainly industrial processes, advanced manufacturing, simulation, product design, and industrial processes are developed. Then we have the digital division. Here, artificial intelligence, big data, data analytics, data science, they are the core of our capacities and the core of the type of work that we are doing. But also we have some activities in multimedia technologies, robotics, digital health. But as I said, data and artificial intelligence is the transversal type of technology that bonds all the activities that we are doing at the digital division. We have also the biotechnological division, where basically we work with nutrition and omic science. And then finally, we have also a very important division, sustainability, which has a lot of connections with the others, but there basically they work on water processes, soil-based processes, air, energy. So why artificial intelligence is a strategic decision at EURECAT? Well, first of all, and going in the line of the messages that have been delivered before, indeed, we are in the middle of this digital transformation. We are in the middle of these disruptive technologies that are mixed together. They are collaborating amongst them. You have them on the left-hand side: artificial intelligence, 5G, blockchain, etc. All those are type of technologies that we are developing and that we are trying to connect at EURECAT, because that allows us to be in the world of this exponential impact. And so all those technologies, if you really match them well, they will allow you to connect well physical and virtual worlds. You will be able to be in the middle of data flux and therefore getting knowledge about those data and so on. So this is one issue why artificial intelligence is a strategic for EURECAT. And we have tried to map this in what in the number of lines of specialization, strategic specialization that we have set at EURECAT in our research and technology organization. As you can see, you have here 7 different domains, and I would like to say that at least 5 of them will have artificial intelligence in between. I will give you some examples later on which illustrate this decision. So one of the aspects that we believe makes some distinction about EURECAT is the fact that we are concentrating quite a lot in artificial intelligence applied to industry. Artificial intelligence indeed is absolutely transversal, but because we have as inside, we have quite a lot of strong knowledge and capacities in the industrial domain, and also we have this digital knowledge about artificial intelligence. We can put the two things together, and we believe that this gives us some distinctive approach when we try to face problems, when we try to talk to companies and see how we can help them. So also, we are trying to be in the state of the art, let's say, of the developments that we are doing in this field. Here, this chart, which is coming from different consulting companies, but allows us very much to show and to understand where we try to be when we are doing our work. If you see nowadays, models are currently or progressively being data-driven models. Data is now is a common thing that we have in our hands, and we can start to shift from traditional modeling based to data-driven models, and that brings into the scene the whole lot of artificial intelligence algorithms and methodologies to help us, you know, to overcome the challenges that companies face to us. And we also try to be in the lower part. So descriptive and diagnostic analysis are very important, but this is something that is more or less already, let's say, I would say current work, but we try to be in the predictive side and also very important in the prescriptive side. So every time or in every step you need much more intelligence and much more knowledge to work on this field. So in terms of resources, EURECAT, we have about 100 professionals specialized in the data technologies and artificial intelligence, which are mainly located in the digital division. We have some computational resources, an internal cluster, which we use it to crunch numbers and to run algorithms on deep learning or reinforcement learning. And we basically use this infrastructure for our research and development projects. And we have indeed some labs where we combine the physical world with the digital world, and we have a robotics lab, an energy systems lab, and in mold electronics or plastronics laboratory, a cybersecurity lab where we also are doing things which connect artificial intelligence with cybersecurity. And a very interesting initiative that we are pushing from EURECAT is the CDTI. CDTI, which stands for Center for Innovation on Data Technologies and Artificial Intelligence, is an association which has been somehow promoted as well by the Catalan government and tries to follow the philosophy of the Digital Innovation Hub. Therefore, from CDTI, we provide services to companies to help them test before invest. So make sure that you want to use artificial intelligence in a proper way, and before making any investment, make sure that through a proof of contest, this technology will help you. We provide training, training in a very wide range, and we also do a lot of dissemination, technological dissemination, to spread the artificial intelligence capabilities amongst the small and medium enterprises that we have nearby, amongst the administration, and in general amongst the society. In one word, it provides a connection, and it's very important to say that this association is a public and private kind of partnership, and you can see here that we have on board companies like Microsoft, like Everest, or like, for instance, the SDG Group, and some other companies that are now knocking to the door to join to this association. So now I move on to a more, let's say, concrete and applied examples. Therefore, I will show a few slides with real examples of work that we have been doing with companies in consortia, etc., and all of them revolving around artificial intelligence. So in the field of artificial intelligence applied to industry, this more or less, this provides an overview of what we can do here. We work from digital twins to algorithms to allow flexible production, smart maintenance, you know it. And the fields or the sectors that we work from an industrial point of view, from aerospace to construction. And now I will give you some examples. For instance, nowadays we are working on a project where we are developing predictive maintenance to a very specific process, which is used to build the fuselage of the rockets. This project we are doing with Ariane Space, And basically, we are concentrating on this process, the friction stir welding, and helping them to introduce Industry 4.0 processes in their manufacturing and assembly lines. We are also working on with a company, Satellite, which is a startup company of the new space concept. This company has launched mini satellites, and we are helping them to define an IoT platform that will allow them to provide IoT services when they complete the constellation in a few years' time. We are also working with a company in the railway sector, and well, this company, they are manufacturing some components for railway, and we help them to define predictive maintenance with a very good results. The company really was astonished about how artificial intelligence and well-tuned models can deliver a lot of reliability when predicting failure. And well, it was a very interesting example that indeed we want to replicate in other cases. We are also working in the agri-food company. This company, Splendid Foods, they produce products from pork meat, they produce cold cuts, etc. And we help them to optimize their production processes by censoring their chambers, their curing chambers, and creating an IoT platform and introducing artificial intelligence algorithms to allow them optimize the curing time. Therefore, we allow them to increase their production, and they also saw that artificial intelligence really helps them in their businesses and their KPIs. We are also now, as a kind of research line, we are trying to introduce reinforcement learning to help meet the OEE KPIs in companies, therefore trying to make companies more effective and more reliable. And that was for examples in the industrial field. In digital health, we are working on using deep learning to analyze medical images to detect coming from chest rays or computerized scanners. But the idea is to identify early identification of lung cancer tumors and see how they grow and if they really are a malign type of disease. And well, it's a project that is in a very advanced status, and probably it could have some impact in the market. It's something that we are now studying. And this, I am very pleased to explain this project PROCEED, because this project started in last summer in the mid of the pandemic. Is a project that is financed and actually is supported by the CDTI in a call that the CDTI issued last summer, and you know, to identify projects to fight the pandemics, to fight the COVID-19. And we from EURECAD, we sent our proposal PROCEED, and we are very happy because we believe that is the only digital project that was selected in this call. At least we didn't find any other. And the idea is to use artificial intelligence to make data-driven models of the pandemics and augmenting these models, not only taking into account medical type of data, but also including social, mobility, water treatment plants data, etc. And with this, try to increase the possibility to see how the pandemics is evolving. We have been working in medical devices, electrocardiograms, etc. And going to the end, we have been working also on artificial intelligence applied to mobility. For instance, identifying origin and destination matrices by the Autoritat Metropolitana del Transporte in Barcelona, so the managing authority of public transport in Barcelona, or also doing a similar work with the tram, the company that is exploiting the tram in Barcelona. or an application done more into the tourism, so try to use big data and artificial intelligence to map the flux of visitors around the Sagrada Familia. Indeed, this project was carried out before the pandemics took place, because now there are almost no tourists in Sagrada Familia. And that's it. Thank you very much, and hope you found this interesting, and indeed I will be ready for any question later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. João Luis. Very illustrative examples, remarkable the achievements that you have accomplished. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Next speaker, let's move on. Next speaker is Mr. Agustín Álvarez, delegate in Andalusia from the company IMESAPI. Mr. Álvarez will tell about their experience in artificial intelligence applied to mobility and transport. Mr. Álvarez holds a degree in industrial engineering and joined IMESAPI in 1996. So please go ahead, Mr. Álvarez.
Thank you, Jordi. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My aim is to talk about one of the projects which have been developed in IMESAPI in the field of artificial intelligence and machine learning to provide safe routes for weak collectives of population when walking along the streets in outdoor lighting conditions. IMESAPI are one of the leading Spanish contractors working with public administration and spreading their activities worldwide, and having a strong background in mobility and outdoor lighting facilities. We usually do brainstorming sessions as a means to come up with ideas to develop projects in artificial intelligence field to provide both solutions to our daily working problems as well as improving people living conditions. And it was in one of these sessions that someone put over the table a well-known problem. People feel unsafe when walking along the streets in solitude, in the darkness. Deepening the problem, we found that it was in the 60s that Edward Hall established his proximity theory. Hall delineated 4 zones for interpersonal distance that characterize Western people, and he defined the intimate, personal, social, and public zones, being the last one, which is situated beyond 3 meters 60 centimeters. 20 years later, 2 outdoor lighting consultants applied this theory and released a criterion for outdoor lighting in residential outdoor designing, which has been widely used since then. Lighting conditions must provide conditions for people having the capability of recognizing facial features of others which are closer than 4 meters far. Otherwise, people feel unsafe. So we had the problem, we have identified the problem, and we needed to deepen in the problem to identify the real factors, or the factors which have a real influence in the problem. Thinking about this topic, we found that visual acuity depends on physical personal features. The elder we become, the worse we see. Even more, people in general feel more unsafe when becoming elder. So we felt we already had one factor: age. Continuing with the analysis, we found that in general, women feel more unsafe than their equivalent male counterparts in these conditions. So we had a second factor: gender. And of course, outdoor lighting conditions have a real influence in solving this problem. So our aim was to design a tool which was being friendly to use, to produce safe itineraries from a point of view, not considering only outdoor lighting conditions, but people's own personal features, and mainly age and gender. And of course, we could do this by using classic mathematical methods, which would imply massive computational resources using very powerful computers, which would put the solution beyond the hands of most of people. So, as our aim was to put a solution on as many pockets as possible, we decided to strive to get a solution to the problem by using analysis of regression and big data techniques running in smartphones. We did this in 3 main stages. First of one is making the harvest, which in mathematical language means data acquisition. Selecting an assorted group of variables with real influence in the problem, measuring their values and making a validation process which revealed that this was not a trivial stage of the problem, as big data usually provide very good results when there is a mathematical or physical way relating inputs and outputs, which is not usually the case when working with people, because as everybody knows, one person could provide very different outputs to the same input depending on their personal condition and subjective way of feeling. So an additional stage of filtering was needed before starting to work with data. We usually work with 2 main techniques of linear regression, which are random forest and support vector regression. We usually work with both, testing the results at the end of this stage, and of course, we choose the one which provides the best results. And what is a good enough result for us? Well, talking in root mean square error, if this value is not beyond 5%, the result is good enough for us to implement the solution in a computer and start to build a behavior model and evolve it. Once this stage was done, we had a 3rd stage. It was programming in an open-coded language for smartphone solutions using geopositioning services and database management system in cloud servers, as outdoor lighting conditions are big enough to be in local smartphones. And here you can see how the APP looks. Have a splash screen, a setup profile where the observer can introduce in their personal conditions, age, gender. The program has the capability of assessing the visual acuity of the observer. It has a module of street searching courtesy of Google Maps, and the APP will provide to the observer with a route, and you can have the security that you will be able to recognize facial features of others being beyond 4 meters, and of course, it wouldn't be the shortest route, the shortest available route, of course, because it's not the aim of the APP. And I wouldn't like to say goodbye without previously saying many thanks for your attention.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Alvarez, for this brilliant presentation on mobility. Now let's go on next speaker. Next topic is artificial intelligence applied to robotics, and it's going to be delivered by Gogoa Mobility Robots, Mr. Juan Martin. He's the CTO of the company, Gogoa Mobility Robots. He has a long background in academics, several master's degrees in industrial engineering, a current PhD candidate, plenty of experience, evaluator on EU framework programs, to mention the Horizon 2020 professor, and also author of numerous patents and publications. That's impressive. The floor is yours, Mr. Juan Antonio Martín, please.
Thank you. Can you see the screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Not yet?
Yes, go ahead. Thank you.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Juan Martín. I'm the technical manager of the company Gogoa, and I will try to explain you the result of a project. I mean to introduce artificial intelligence algorithms in the control of an active exoskeleton in order to try to understand what the worker is going to do in order to command automatically the exoskeleton. I had some problem with the screen. Okay, Gogoa is a young company. We was constituted in 2015, and to explain what Gogoa do is quite easy because we only do exoskeleton for different applications in different fields of activity, but only exoskeleton. We are proud to say that we are a young company, but we have a lot of innovation award at national and European level. For instance, Gogoa was the first company achieving the CE certification for a medical exoskeleton. We are producing exoskeleton in 3 different fields of application. First one is clinical rehabilitation. We are producing exoskeleton for rehabilitation of patients after a stroke or a spinal cord injury. In this field, we are coordinating a bilateral project with Korean companies and universities trying to develop an exoskeleton for rehabilitation of the upper limbs. Also, we are producing industrial exoskeleton in order to reduce the musculoskeletal disorder associated at work. And also we are producing exoskeleton for sport in order to help ski practitioner and snowboarder in order to reduce the fatigue when they are practicing this sport. Concerning the project, the challenge we try to solve is, an active exoskeleton is a machine, and all the machine needs to move the motor and so on, need to receive command. But this command can be done with a button, pushing a button, with a smartphone, or even by voice. But none of this aspect is able to be used in an industrial environment. Then it's not practice to do it. Then the aim of the project is to recognize the user intention at the law she is managing in order to automatically send the appropriate command to the exoskeleton, regulating the movement and also the support that the exoskeleton will offer. On the left, you have the active exoskeleton for lumbar support that we use for this project. And on the right, you have the description of the activities we are trying to identify. First one is to stand up, to walk, to go down in order to load a lift, and then to go again transporting the lift. To do it, the first step was to use a lot of sensors. The aim of the project is to reduce them, but we start with a lot of sensors, around 20 different sensors, Hall sensor, low cell, piezoresistive sensor, inertial sensor, etc. And on the right, you have the first prototype with a lot of cable, a lot of electronic, a lot of sensor, as I said before, in order to start training the deep learning system. We use 21 users for the testing, and you can see here after the processing of the signal of the sensor, we identified that the most suitable sensor for our purpose was the inertial sensor, the Hall sensor, and the piezo-resistive sensor. Then we decide to continue focusing with this specific sensor. We also use, in order to detect the load that the worker is managing, we use also electromyographic sensor placed on the heart, and we recover all the different signals from all the subject. After the filtering of the signal, we use different artificial intelligence methods. We use deep learning. Specifically, we use supervised classification learning, and we use around 20 different methods in order to see what are the most suitable for that. With 3 of them, we achieve a high precision, close to 100%, not 100%, but around 99.8% in the recognition of the user intention of movement, and also in the recognition of the load he or she is managing. Specifically, we use find tree method, find key and method, and cubic SUN method with this high accuracy. Then we are able to predict the user behavior and the load he's managing, and to send automatically the command to the driver of the exoskeleton in order to support properly the user. Using a combination of these 3 methods, we are improving now the algorithm in order to reach 100% of accuracy, because 99.8% is not 100%, but we are very close to 100% at the moment. And we use only 7 variables that are produced combining 4 different sensors: 2 Hall sensor, 1 piezo-resistive sensor, and 1 inertial sensor placed on the back of the user. Then the project is close to finish, and we will use this in order to introduce this intelligent exoskeleton in different application fields, like in the railways industry or in agricultural tasks, etc. In all sectors, when the user needs to manage heavy load, I'm talking about 40 kilograms, and should be done in an industrial way. Okay, this is all. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Mr. Martin. I thought that all this only happened in science fiction movies, so no, in Google as well. Let's move to the next speaker, Dr. Marcos Messigen. He's academic career. He holds a degree in biological sciences, master's degree in research methods, design and statistics, and a PhD in obstetrics and gynecology. He's a scientific supervisor and senior embryologist in IVF unit of IBIRMA in Valencia. He's received several prize paper awards from the American Society, from Lawler Foundation, and some mentions from the Spanish Society of Fertility and Embryology. He holds 2 international patents and published over 175 scientific articles. Good. Please, Mr. Messigen, go on with the presentation.
Thank you very much for the introduction, and also I would like to thank CDTI for this invitation to talk about our experience combining the help of Ministry of Science and Innovation in artificial intelligence applied to medicine in more than 10 in 11 countries. Actually, we have more than 50 centers. We are doing assisted reproduction treatment for more than 40,000 patients around the world. We have around 25% of our patients that are coming from abroad of Spain, and also from different places that we don't have clinics. And we are receiving patients from more than 100 different countries. This is our clinic in Valencia. We are a reference clinic in IVF in our city, and also one of the biggest in Europe and in the world with treatments. And in relation with assisted reproductive medicine, the problem is that actually the success that we have And the problem is sometimes depending on the mother and the father and generate, and sometimes the problem is depending on the dated. Some of them are related with the treatment by itself. Some of them are related with the patient by itself. And our intention is try to optimize this, because every patient that is coming to our clinic must go home pregnant, and then we must wait 9 months to have a baby at home. I've been lucky to travel everywhere around the world. I've been also in Korea many times giving lectures and talk about our experience on assisted reproduction, reproductive medicine, and also the application of artificial intelligence to improve our outcome. That is our main goal in IVF. And well, we have a lot of scientific publications, international, some of them related with the artificial treatment, and you a little bit of these aspects that are important of the application of artificial intelligence. First of all, it's important in order to identify the patient and to know which are the factors that are affecting their infertility using big data. Then also may help the doctor in the consultation, because we may help the patients to know or to talk with them about the expectations of the results of the future IVF treatment, in vitro fertilization treatment, in order to have a live birth. Then also it can help the doctor in the treatment. It can help us, the doctors in the treatment, just to try to find the right medication to be used in order to have the best results. Lab in which the IVF lab is helping you later how, because it will identify the best embryo that we must choose to give to the patient. Then also it can help us at molecular level, because we need to identify in which the mother can receive the embryo and get pregnant. So our research in AI has been very, very important, and it covers many aspects of assisted reproduction. But I have bring you here one little example, because we study the DNA, the chromosome content of the embryos, and we are trying to using artificial intelligence in order to identify which embryos are chromosomically normal. And you may listen something about this.
Excuse
that
me,
there are
Mr.
babies
Messigen?
born 21 chromosomes. Yes.
We are having some problems to listen to you, so maybe if you turn off the camera, it will work better.
Okay. Let's see now. Do you listen me better?
Yeah.
Okay. So I was trying to explain that, well, this is our application to try to understand or to analyze by non-invasive the prediction of the amount of chromosomes that are present in the embryo. So you may listen about 21st chromosome and the syndrome, Down syndrome. So our was to identify very early at the stages of embryo development when the embryo be chromosomically normal. This is our, so let me see if I can move forward. So actually what we are doing is to use computer vision. Computer vision is done in order to identify by using special incubators that are here to analyze the image intelligence in order to extract information and decide which events are relevant to solve a specific question. That was our intention by using artificial intelligence. So I have bring you here a couple of examples of how just directly in the lab, we just get information from the embryos, just getting a small piece of the embryo. So it's like a very aggressive procedure in which we take cells of the embryo to analyze the chromosome. Our intention artificial intelligence is to automatically AI. So that's of the research that we're doing, we're trying to find the embryos, and in particular, the cell of the embryo and cell age of each one of the embryos. And we are generating a score which is helping us to quantify the surface of each cell in each time of the embryo development. So we analyzed 160 frames during 3 days of the embryo growing. And then with this information, we are trying to identify the embryo that is chromosomically normal. That's more or less what we will see. We count the ages of the embryo during 3 days, and this amount of ages the time, and we are measuring this total age during the embryo development and also the difference between frames. And with this information, we have generated a model sensitivity of 75% to identify we have been able to identify relatively, but it's the first approach, by using computer vision, the embryo that is chromosomically normal or abnormal, just by using computer vision and AI. So for me, and it's very important to underline the importance of artificial intelligence in our field, these technologies are dramatically changing the way that we work in medical field. And this is including reproductive medicine, or in vitro fertilization clinics. We are working these years implementing the connectivity because they are very important to improve our success, because what we want is to get our patients pregnant. We want the patients coming to the machine learning algorithm that will pass our clinical results or operationals and also the business efficiencies. So I really want to thank the support of the Spanish government to underline or to go in this research. And I'm sorry about the connection because apparently it was very good. I just checked it this morning, but for any reason, the Zoom is not working well in my computer.
Thank you, Dr. Messigen. It's been very illustrative, at least for me, to see how it helps society and in the field of health. All I think was very, very illustrative. This was the last, as far as the agenda signals, is the last presentation. Before we close the event, I would like to move on if there are any questions to answer. There is one question, which is GDPR regulation affecting, how is GDPR regulation affecting the usage of private data sets? GDPR regulation stands for a General Data Protection Regulation, right? Affecting the usage of private data sets. I guess that question should go to Planetic if you Planetic, are you in a position to answer that, or it's, I don't know?
Yes, GDPR is of course affecting the development of artificial intelligence and data sharing, data usage in Spain and in Europe, or in Europe and in Spain. And we need to follow these regulations and take into account the GDPR regulations. This is a characteristic, a differential characteristic in Europe, different from other countries like USA or China, for example, which are more focused on the impact of the use of artificial intelligence more than legal or privacy or ethical issues. But in Europe, we are differentiating us in those areas. In addition to GDPR, in Europe, we are defining at this moment 2 new regulations, which are more related to data sharing, which are the Data Governance Act and the Data Act, which are very recently launched by the Commission. and that are also complementing the AI regulation, the AI Act, which is under consultation till the 8th of August. So a set of regulations regarding artificial intelligence and data sharing, which are affecting for sure this sector, this technological sector in Europe. But we need to follow the rules and try to use try to follow and develop the applications in the best way. Follow the rules.
Okay. Okay. There is let me see. There is another one from Geist. Where and how can we find companies working on autonomous vehicles? Who is in a position to answer that? Because that's mobility, in the field of mobility. And I guess it means artificial intelligence applied to mobility. So where we can find, I guess, when you say companies means potential partners, in that case, companies specifically, to partner with Korean companies on autonomous vehicles.
Yes. If I can make a comment, I'm representing Planetic, which is a group of companies, research centers, and so on. You can go to the webpage of Planetic and see some companies which and we have a language model or classification model in order you can see the specifications or the specialities of each company. There are other associations of ICT companies in Spain, like Ametic or others, and you can also go to the map, the artificial intelligence capabilities map, which I included in my presentation. You can have the link there and navigate to find companies regarding mobility sector and also artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on. I can say this. Maybe there are others, other associations. For example, Logistop, which is a technology platform which is focused on logistics and mobility. That you can also find some companies there.
Okay, and there is one question more: how we can collaborate with EURECAT, is referred to EURECAT, on bilateral calls as KRESIP or Eureka. The nature of the calls are not targeting to one specific research institute or company or university. It has to be in consortium, and what CDTI and in this case IITP are doing is to build bilateral programs where taking advantage of the funding, the budget and funding available from each respective country. So companies and research institutes like EURECAT, or companies like those who are presented today, in consortium they can define joint R&D, research and development projects to submit to these calls. So to put it in a plain words, the calls are somehow the platforms where companies in consortium, they can build proposals in research in a specific topic like artificial intelligence, and the basic line or the underlying line is that there has to be one company for each country, or even in Korea you don't need to be a company. It's enough to have an entity with enough knowledge to cover the research activities, and then do a proposal in that specific research for the funding companies, and they will evaluate the proposal, and if everything is right and the evaluation is good, they will get funded. So everyone can benefit. EURECAT, the companies that presented, universities even. So it's open to anyone who has knowledge and has the will to cooperate internationally in that case with Korean entities and Spanish entities together. So the project has to be, to some extent, think about that, has to be balanced. You cannot do everything in one country. So it's kind of long talk, but basically that's the baseline. Okay, I don't see more questions now in the list. So let's conclude that seminar. And before leaving, I would like to recall one of the ambassadors when he addressed his initial speech, in the opening speech. He said about President Moon Jae-in visiting Spain. I have no doubt that will give an additional push to the relations between the two countries, and I think we need to seize the moment and give a, you know, you are the researchers, so we are hearing from your proposals and so on. So I think now the momentum is good, and more calls are coming. So we are on the listening. Thank you for attending that seminar, and that's all for this event. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.